There's something most of us don't talk about when we start over, and that's failure and feeling like a failure. And I'm not talking about the kind that makes an exciting story after the fact because everything has worked out in the end. I'm talking about the kind that leaves you sick to your stomach and feeling lost, wondering if you ever had what it takes or if you have the strength to try again. I know that feeling. Hi, I'm Diane Hatz. This is Hearth Writes, where we talk about writing, creativity, and what it means to live an authentic life, especially in midlife when so many of us thought our lives were set but found ourselves in the midst of change. Today, I want to talk about failure, not because we were wrong to try. Actually, it's the opposite. Failure isn't the end of something, even if we don't realize it. It's one step closer to where we're meant to be. Failure is one of the best teachers we can have, so I'm hoping we can reframe it at least a little. For most of my life, I thought failure was a judgment about me. And to be honest, I can still have moments where I take it personally, but that's changing. I used to think I wasn't good enough or smart enough. I felt like people were judging me and laughing at me behind my back. I know, I was a little paranoid. I sometimes even went as far as to think that maybe I was the mistake. But I'm learning to see it differently because I'm damned if I'm gonna let the world or someone else dictate how I feel about myself. And trust me, it's taken me almost 6 decades to get to this point. When my career collapsed in my 50s and the life I'd worked so hard to build came apart, I didn't know what would come next. Honestly, I didn't know if I had the strength to start over again. But it was through that unraveling and my sheer tenacity that I got up and started putting one foot in front of the other. I'd lost so much that it gave me the courage to do something I was terrified to do, and that was fiction writing, the thing I'd always wanted to do with my life. Let's be honest, setbacks are painful. I mean, they can be really painful. They bring up shame, fear, and self doubt. They can leave us lost and feeling like we're dangling from a thread. My last one gave me the gift of panic attacks. But failures and setbacks can also make space for us. They can open us up to opportunities we didn't think we'd be able to take. They give us a chance to ask some real questions like, what now? Or who am I? The real me? Or what really matters to me? There's actual research to back this up. A study published in Psychological Science found that people who actively reflect on and learn from failure develop more emotional resilience, creativity, and long term strength than those who avoid it. And a 2019 study in the Academy of Management Journal found that people who experienced early career failures and kept going actually outperformed those who found quick success. Failure doesn't mean you're broken or you've done something wrong. It shows you that you tried and that you cared enough to risk something. It's not something to be ashamed of because trying to do something new takes courage and strength. I was listening to a podcast recently, and I apologize, I can't remember who it was, but they were talking about failure. And the guest said that people who don't fail aren't trying and aren't living their fullest life. And I got to say, I'd never thought about it that way, and I totally agree. Failure and setbacks are how we grow. What kind of life do we have if everything is just handed to us and if we don't have to make any effort? All failure means is that we tried something new. That's a badge of honor and, frankly, a life well lived. If you're sitting at home afraid to do something because you're afraid you won't succeed, you aren't living. You're hiding. I hate to say that. Still, I understand that when you're in it, it can be hard to see clearly. The last big failure I had left me face down in the dirt, battered and bruised. I was ashamed and sometimes still wonder if people in the field I was in gossiped about me and judged me and, well, frankly, laughed at me behind my back. And they didn't even know the truth about what had happened. And that drove me crazy that I couldn't scream out, get a megaphone and scream out to everyone what really happened. So I was paralyzed for quite a while because I went into shock and, frankly, I suffered a severe trauma. I want you to know that I'm not minimizing the effects of failure or how much it can hurt. I'm just hoping to help you understand that the effort you make is success in itself. Look, I've published 3 books, and I'm lucky to make enough in royalties each month to buy myself some groceries. Does it hurt? Of course it does. And sometimes I get really down and I wonder if I should quit. But I don't. I keep writing. And I keep reminding myself that the act of writing and publishing the book is the success. According to a 2021 Thrift Book survey, 55% of respondents said they had a book in them, yet only 6% actually finished one. The fact I've got 3 books out is a success. It's all about reframing, which seems, well, yeah, it does seem to be my favorite word these days. If you've lost something or not succeeded at something and are feeling down about it, here are 7 suggestions that might help. First, let yourself feel it. Not everything has to be turned into growth right away. Sometimes the most honest thing you can do is to say, this sucks. That's the beginning of healing. So don't put on a happy face and pretend everything is perfect when it's not. I personally did a little axe throwing to get in touch with my anger around my loss, and I cried when I needed to. What can you do? Chop wood? Get a punching bag? Do you need to get in touch with your feelings? And trust me, I guarantee you anger is in there. Second, write it out. What happened? What were you hoping for? What are you sad or devastated about? Writing gives shape to what's swirling around inside your head. It probably won't fix the problem or change the feeling right away, but it helps you be honest about where you're at and it helps you face it. And it's much healthier to get out what you're feeling. If you try to stuff it down, it'll find some way to come out. Third, name what you learned. I don't mean in a forced, everything happens for a reason, glossy, superficial kind of way. But what did this teach you about your limits, your strengths, your desires? Or what did you learn about your fears? What would you do differently next time? I'm trying to look at not reaching a goal or something not working out as one more thing to tick off on my it's not for me box or my I tried it box. There are millions of more things in the world to try. So just, we're not going to get through all of them. So why don't we pick the ones that we want to at least experience or go for and do it? Fourth, separate failure from identity. This is extremely important, and it's something I'm still working on. It's not easy because most of us are conditioned by our parents and society to attach personally to what we do, but we are not our job. We're not that store we tried to open or that degree we tried to get. Just because something didn't work out doesn't mean you are a failure. You are not your setbacks. I'm going to say that again. You are not your setbacks. You're the person who took a risk and tried. You showed up and you did something most people won't do. You reached for your golden ring. Be proud of yourself for trying. Fifth, find others like you. See if there's an entrepreneur group in your area if you lost a business. Search for a women's group if you had a nasty breakup. I guarantee you'll find someone who can relate to what you're going through. You can even just type in failure into YouTube and watch videos to understand that you're not alone. Sixth, detach from outcomes. Do your best to detach from outcomes. This is something to work on when you take your next steps. Work hard to achieve what you want. That job, that promotion, that relationship, that house, whatever you want. Do the best you can and then let go of the outcome. We can't control what happens. I spend about a year or even 2 writing my books to the best of my ability. I work tirelessly to edit, format, and get the book published as perfectly as I can. I market to the best of my ability within my budget, and then I do everything I can to let go of what happens. And look, okay, a lot of the times I can't let go and I do feel like a failure, but I go back and I use these tools, and I tell myself that I'm getting a step closer to being able to let go of the outcomes and to really get into what I'm doing. Because frankly, I do want to be as famous as Stephen King, or maybe not. I don't know, but we can all dream. This is not about giving up dreaming or fantasies. This is about understanding we can only do so much, and then we have to leave it to the universe, a higher power. We just got to leave it for it to become what it's meant to become. So what do I do in the end? I just move on and write the next book. That's all I can do. If we can learn to detach from our outcomes, we'll see that the success is in the doing, not in what happens after the fact. Society, Madison Avenue, the patriarchy, they all determine that it's the result and it's money, 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 and that's success. That's bullshit. So many people I know with a lot of money are just assholes. So I don't know. That's my little side note for the day. So, and finally, take one next step. You don't have to jump into your next venture or solve any problems, but what's something you can do to move yourself forward? It might be getting out of bed and taking a shower or going for a walk. You could be in the sun or the shade, but just get outdoors and just to feel nature. Nature is super, super important. Or put your resume together. If you're in a challenging chapter of your life right now, please know this is not the end. What you're leaving behind is simply a step leading you to where you're meant to be. You might not feel great about your experience until you can look back and see how far you've come, but we can use our pain to help us move closer to our real selves. How about thinking about where in your life you've let failures define you longer than you needed to? I mean, I went years too long lost to my sorrow and trauma over my career failure, so I'm not judging you. But if you can write it all out or get it out somehow, like start a death metal band and go scream it out, you can start releasing any shame and pain you still might have. How about exploring how your life can change if you let your old story go? So, thanks for being here today. And now let's all go out and do something new and fun. And let me know in the comments if you've ever failed at something and what you did to come back or are currently doing. Thanks again. Be well.